Same side of the court as Steph Curry.
I'm excited just to, to be able to be on the floor with him and not have to chase him around and try to contest him and all that. So the fact that we're on the same side, it's something that it's special for me, and I'm really going to try to take advantage and learn from him as much as I can. He sees the game in a very incredible way, and I'm just going to follow suit and really lean on him and lean on Draymond to kind of show me the way.
Can you blame Al? No one wants to have to chase around Steph Curry as a defender. Right now, welcoming in our Warriors reporter Anthony Slater, live at Chase Center with that gorgeous Bay Area view in the background. Slater, training camp, it was a little bit busier today. How are guys like Horford and Kuminga, he's back, right, acclimating to this team?
Yeah, Al Horford, like you said, did his intro presser about 20 feet to my right yesterday. He said he did not contemplate retirement this summer. He actually signed a 2-year deal. I think the big thing is he's already acclimating. He was in San Diego for the camp with Jimmy Butler. They called it a seamless fit. It's very obvious to see how he fits in this Steve Kerr system. There's no concerns there. One of the interesting things about Al Horford and what Steve Kerr's talked about how he fits into every lineup, I think it's fair to say, Jonathan Kuminga's negotiations this summer were contentious, but one of the things that both sides agreed upon was signing Al Horford would hard cap them, to this mid-level, but even Kuminga side thought it was such a great signing because Al Horford, as a stretch center, as a 5 that can shoot the ball, is going to help every lineup, really including the lineups that have Jonathan Kuminga in it, because one of the issues for Kuminga has been a lack of space at times. And I think, this coaching staff, I know actually, is very interested to see lineups that have Horford and Kuminga in them.
Interesting. So that's something that we will certainly be keeping an eye on. There's been so much conversation about Kuminga, his role with this team, but we know, at least for now, to start the season, he is there, and they are determined to try to make the most of it because this is a group that has their eyes on a championship to maximize the end of Steph Curry. I feel like I say that all the time, maximize the end of Steph Curry. Anthony Slater, thank you so very much. The Warriors are, though, as Anthony mentioned, if Al Horford is in the starting lineup, some might call it seasoned, some might say old. On this show, we like to highlight the approach, right? With Al Horford in the fold, Golden State could start 5 players over 35 on opening night. They would be the second team to have 5 players that old at the beginning of the year since the Mavericks in 2011-2012. So Bobby, Horford, Buddy, Curry, Jimmy, Draymond, the oldest starting lineup since those Mavericks. Given that, how confident are you that this Warriors team, now that we know what their roster looks like, they can fulfill their goal here of making it all the way to an NBA championship?
Well, first put me in the category of seasoned. It's not old. I am in the camp of being seasoned here. I think, Malika, look, when you have Stephen Curry on the court, anytime you have a chance, I think we have to look at what the body of work in the second half of the season was last year when they made that Jimmy Butler trade, how good this team was. We don't know where they would have gone in the playoffs if Curry had stayed healthy. Could they have beaten Minnesota? And when you look at the off-season additions, you basically you add Al Horford, you lose Kevon Looney, you bring in Seth Curry, and you also bring back D'Anthony Melton and Jonathan Kuminga. So your bench, of course, gets better. So they've got a chance. Are they in Oklahoma City territory? No, but they're in the mix with the rest of the teams in the Western Conference.
Whenever you have Steph Curry on your roster, you are always in the mix. And now it's just about putting that 23-8 that we saw down the stretch of the season since they traded for Jimmy Butler, putting that record out, extrapolating it over the course of the season. The biggest thing for them is going to be, can they stay healthy? It's so important for a seasoned squad. Let's stick in the West here. Victor Wembanyama gearing up for year 3. Remember, he missed the final
NFL's dominance among fans can be traced to its parity. The belief that, even in an era when the Kansas City Chiefs have won 3 of the past 4 Super Bowls, multiple franchises can credibly foster hope that this is their year for a deep postseason run. 1 month before the playoffs begin, the race to the Vince Lombardi Trophy remains wide open. The Chiefs are 12-1 but vulnerable. Top offenses have been stopped, and good defenses have shown flaws. Attrition has racked depth charts. Each conference boasts many good teams. But how many will prove to be truly great? The 2025 NRL Premiership is wide open, but every contender carries a flaw that could derail their finals dreams. From injuries to inexperience, no team is without a weakness. The question is which flaws will prove fatal when the pressure intensifies in September. Flaw: inexperienced, the Raiders have completely flipped expectations after they were favoured for the wooden spoon heading into the season. However, questions remain over their ability to perform when the stakes are the highest. The bulk of the current roster weren't part of the side's 2019 run to the grand final, with only a handful having featured in the 3 finals campaigns since. Veterans like Jamal Fogarty, Josh Papali'i and Joseph Tarpany can steady the ship, but they can't carry the load alone. Melbourne Storm FLW. Discipline. The Storm remain one of the NRL's most reliable premiership threats. However, their aura has dimmed after an inconsistent regular season. Bellamy's men built their dynasty on ruthless discipline. This year, uncharacteristic errors, penalties, and missed tackles have hurt their superstar spine, which won't have a consistent run to finals courtesy of a Jerome Hughes shoulder injury, can turn matches. However, they can't erase structural cracks, so if Melbourne doesn't rediscover their trademark polish, their title hopes could collapse before the big dance. Canterbury Bulldogs FLW. Spine disruption. Lachlan Galvin's mid-season arrival was sold as the transfer that would push the Bulldogs over the top, but it hasn't clicked yet. The young star's introduction disrupted a spine combination that had led them to the top of the premiership ladder. With Galvin learning on the fly, their attack has lacked cohesion. The Dogs' talent is clear, with their round 21 thumping of the Sea Eagles a step in the right direction. But if their timing is slightly off in September, that could be enough to knock them out of the finals race. 9:30:25. Top 5 plays of the day. The Sporting News takes a look at the fatal flaw of every finals contender with 6 rounds remaining. More. Bellamy pulls the pin after Papenhuizen's kicking nightmare. Each NRL contender's fatal flaw heading into the finals. Canberra Raiders FLW. Inexperienced. The Raiders have completely flipped expectations after they were favoured for the wooden spoon heading into the season. However, questions remain over their ability to perform when the stakes are the highest. The bulk of the current roster weren't part of the side's 2019 run to the grand final, with only a handful having featured in the 3 finals campaigns since. Veterans like Jamal Fogarty, Josh Papali'i, and Joseph Tarpany can steady the ship, but they can't carry the load alone. Melbourne Storm FLW. Discipline. The Storm remain one of the NRL's most reliable premiership threats. However, their aura has dimmed after an inconsistent regular season. Bellamy's men built their dynasty on ruthless discipline. This year, uncharacteristic errors, penalties, and missed tackles have hurt their superstar spine, which won't have a consistent run to finals courtesy of a Jerome Hughes shoulder injury, can turn matches. However, they can't erase structural cracks, so if Melbourne doesn't rediscover their trademark polish, their title hopes could collapse before the big dance. Canterbury Bulldogs FLW. Spine disruption. Lachlan Galvin's mid-season arrival was sold as the transfer that would push the Bulldogs over the top, but it hasn't clicked yet. The young star's introduction disrupted a spine combination that had led them to the top of the premiership ladder. With Galvin learning on the fly, their attack has lacked cohesion. The Dogs' talent is clear, with their round 21 thumping of the Sea Eagles a step in the right direction. But if their timing is slightly off in September, that could be enough to knock them out of the finals race. New Zealand Warriors FLAW. Injuries. The Warriors' chance at a premiership has been rocked by 2 cruel blows. Mitchell Barnett and Luke Metcalf both suffered ACL injuries earlier in the season, which is proving to be a steep challenge to overcome. Barnett's toughness and leadership through the middle, as well as Metcalf's pace and spark in attack, are sorely missed. The strength of their lower grades provides Warriors fans with some hope. However, they will have to thread a tiny needle if they are to lift the Proven summons on the final Sunday of the season. Penrith Panthers FLW. History. Penrith's dynasty faces a unique challenge as they will likely enter the finals sitting outside the top 4. History shows that no club has ever won the title from outside the top 4 in 27 NRL seasons. If the Panthers win out from here, they would have to rely on the Warriors to drop 3 out of their last 6, or the Bulldogs to lose 5 of their last 6. Ivan Cleary has had his side humming over the last 7 rounds, but if they are unable to track down the Warriors, or Bulldogs to claim 4th position before finals, the path to a 5-peat will be grueling. Brisbane Broncos FLW. Misfiring Stars. Brisbane has no shortage of weapons. Payne Haas, Reece Walsh, Ezra Mam can tear games apart individually. The issue for Michael Maguire is that the stars on his roster rarely peak together. Too often, one star shines while others go quiet, leaving the Broncos short of their full potential. But if all the guns at Red Hill can align in time for finals, they will be nearly impossible to beat. Cronulla Sharks FLW. Killer Instinct. Cronulla boasts one of the most talented rosters on paper in the NRL. Yet, when games tighten, they lack the killer instinct to finish off their opponents. Since round 10, they have one victory by 13 points or more, despite facing several teams that won't be a factor in September. Without a killer edge, the Sharks risk being bullied out of finals yet again. Dolphins FLW. Leadership void the Dolphins seem to be most footy fans' second team. A fairy tale run to the grand final would be a great story. However, injuries to seasoned leaders will prove too much to overcome. In crunch time, with key veterans Tom Gilbert, shoulder, Thomas Flegler, shoulder, and Daniel Saifidi, shoulder, sidelined, their leadership group looks thin. Christian Wolff is relying on stars like Asaya Katoa and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow who haven't proven they can get the job done when the season is on the line. Their attack will keep them interesting, but without those steadying hands, the Dolphins' campaign is extremely fragile. Manly C Eagles FLAW. Inconsistency on their day, Manly's talent is undeniable. Tom Trbojevic, Tulu Torkula, and Daly Cherry Evans are devastating attacking weapons. The problem is that they rarely sustain peak form for weeks straight. A brilliant performance is often followed by an inexplicable blowout. To threaten deep into the finals. They'll need 4 flawless games in a row, which is a big ask given their track record this season. Sydney Roosters FLAW. Halves cohesion. The Roosters' hopes rest on a young, unsettled halves rotation. Sam Walker, Hugo Savala, and Sandon Smith have rotated in and out all year. Talent isn't the issue, cohesion is. Without a clear vision for how their 6 and 7 will work in tandem, their attack loses rhythm. Trent Robinson faces an uphill battle in getting all of his young players on the same page in just 6 weeks before finals begin, if they're to make it that far.